Hello YouTube, what's good and welcome back. This week we have 5 locals and 5 decks. Why 5? Well, maybe I'm crazy or maybe I just really like Yugioh. But I definitely paid the price for it. I got a bit sick from doing that. I didn't get COVID, but yeah, definitely a bit cold down here in Australia and a bit run down from playing 21 rounds of Yu-Gi-Oh! Stretched across 4 days. I don't know why. But yeah, I really like Yu-Gi-Oh! Anyway, jumping into the first deck here, we've got Predaplant Despia. This deck's really fun. I'm glad that this caught on at the YCS. It was played by a few American pros. And the first note of this deck is that I don't have Preda Practice or the other Predaplant spell traps. I don't own them. If I did, I probably would use them. Preda Practice is pretty good. But the thing I would probably draw attention to first would be the 3 of the Biblips and 3 Tragedy. This is just mainly a personal preference thing where I just like this ratio. It means I'm always, have stuff in my hand to fuse with, and I've always got stuff chain blocking, and I'm always playing essentially. Like, I view this as like I'm never bricking. And then like the ratio of 2 Scorpio, 2 Chlamydia Sundew, I have no logic really. I jump into locals playing these decks quite blind, as in first time ever picking up the cards and using them. So I use it as a learning experience to try and get as much out as possible, which is usually why the deck lists look kind of bad and unrefined, but how else are you going to learn unless you start bad and you learn what's good? I play 2 Cobra because this is a long-running joke with myself that the last time I played an event where this was like meta with grass and zombies and light swans and plants back in 2016 or 17, I vowed that I would always play 2 of this moving forward, because when I played 1, I drew it 3 out of 4 rounds and I lost a lot of games because I did. So yeah, I played 2 of that. Honestly, this comes up a lot, and like it's never bad drawing a Predaplant in this deck because you always have ways to fuse them away to get playing. Because it's so hard to brick just because of the ambulance card. Like, just drawing Predaplant monsters just means you're playing, which is really nice. I did enjoy the Edge Imp engine. Like, the Edge Imp engine was really good. It really justifies these throw ratios. I played Fusion Destiny and stuff. Completely win more. You don't need to do it at all, because, well, Cobra searching branded fusion is usually what you're doing 100% of games, but even then you always get instant fusion. So between instant fusion and branded fusion, you're never really getting Fusion Destiny, so those main deck spots better serves for other cards, most likely the Preda Practice. And I will say that playing the Stay Sailor is really good. I think this is pretty good even in regular Despia as a good light monster, just to dump out your extra to make it easier to make Mirror Jades. In terms of the extra deck, everything's pretty good. I'm playing the Chimera Rafflesia just because you need something that you can fuse like a Predaplant and an Egypt chain for, which is, Chimera Rafflesia helps that out a lot. And I find it really hard to make this Preda Power Dragon. I really rarely make that. I definitely need to play 2 Dragostapelia, so definitely would try and fit a second Dragostapelia somewhere in here. And then the side deck was just a bunch of fun, really. I think this is like Spider Orchid. It's a MST, so sometimes you put this in going second for certain decks, because it's searchable of your Biblips and your Ambulance, so, searchable MST is pretty good. And then I didn't want to like main too many Poly or Droplet, so I started other copies. And for fun, I tried an Eradicator, Epidemic Virus, because I felt that I always get a lot of free Dark Monsters in many Fusion decks I play, and this card definitely overperformed. Like, it was super good, super strong. I think I'm going to run this forward again in other Fusion decks I play in the future. Especially with Splite coming out, you could probably be playing Deck Devastation Virus instead of Eradicator. I guess the logic of this was like, there's just so many good spell cards in the game, and it's like, you don't always side this in, but like, honestly, for some Sword Soul players, I just put it in because they've got Emergence, Vessels, go second, they have all the board breakers against you, so why not? it worked out really well. So overall, with all like Predaplant Despia, I highly recommend to give this a shot. Try this out. It's really, really, really strong and really fun. And you definitely don't have to play it in this way. You can definitely just play it in the normal way that they were playing it at the YCS, with hand traps and Predator practice. Alright, so on to the second deck. Geez, what do I call this? Well, this is the guuu. Reborn Tengu, that is. This kind of started as a joke because I play a lot of old formats and I really do enjoy the plant format of 2011. And I was thinking Reborn Tengu is a pretty strong card that just doesn't get used anymore, and Tenki came back at 2, so I was also thinking of this. And well, it's got a lot of synergy with like Synchro engines. I guess the main point of this deck is, yeah, you're playing like Adventurer, Punk, Synchro, good stuff, but you're putting a Tengu on the board as well in order to give you more material to work with. Your end boards aren't much different than the regular Adventure Punk Roast Dragon stuff. This is just more about trying to get to like obscure Hyper Librarian and Formula lines with the help of your Tengu, just as like a bit of a meme to, you know, pay homage to the Tengu plant deck of the past. So I guess this is like Tengu 2022, good stuff Tengu. And I guess a key synergy is that Tengu has 600 defense, which is actually searchable off Cupid Pitch. So the way you would do that in this deck would be like Souls and a Punk for Cupid Pitch, and then you would trigger to get Tengu. Like that play requires you to not normal summon Tengu, not normal summon and hold normal summon for Tengu. But it did come up. A funny thing that did come up though was my board got too clogged. Like I went for some crazy wombo combo, librarian draw combo, but I had like the token, the griffin, the souls, and the Tengu, and my board just got clogged, and I couldn't do the main combo I wanted to do. But this deck was a whole lot of fun, like so much fun. I made like a Cosmic because at this particular locals there's a lot of Sky Striker players, and you know, they like to emulate success of Mystic Mine. I get it, but come on guys, it's Mystic Mine, please don't play it. Like, it's good only when people aren't expecting it, and then when people expect it, it's really kind of bad, and you can just auto lose if you try and deck out your opponent and they have an out to it. I'm not saying it's not bad, but I mean, it's not good. It is pretty good, but yeah, not my kind of card. I like to use Mystic Mine more proactively. Which I think, you know, any deck that plays like Psychic End Punisher or Boral Sword can use Mystic Mine quite proactively, as in you use it so that they can't respond to your OTK push. Like, it's very skillful how you do that, but it is possible. Anyway, tangent aside, nothing too special, pretty standard side deck, extra deck. Extra deck's kind of random, not playing Punisher here, had to make concessions for the Cupid Pitch and the Hyper Librarian. Tenki can be sent off Magician Souls, but I'm definitely going to revisit this because Tengu is really cool. I want to find a deck for Tengu. I'm also playing a single Warwolf because it is a Beast Warrior, searchable off Tenki, and if you don't know what it does, it special summons out of your hand when a level 4 or lower monster is special summoned to your field. So obviously it's triggered by everything in the deck. It's level 3, makes it easier to go into Arclight and into Pitch. So a great card. Really, really, really good. I went 3-1 at this locals. I only lost to a God Hand, and yeah, honestly, I didn't need Tengu most of the time, but he was nice when he was there. It lets you make the level 7s like really easy. It lets you make Riser and Moonlit like really, really, really easy. So, man, he is good. You know, the Tengu is the goo. So that was local number 2, and now for local number 3. So what would I call this? I guess this is like Punk Therion, but with plants. So why plants? Well, obviously Lily Borea is a plant, so it's got a lot of synergy with Lone Fire Blossom. But also because these new these new Link monsters are pretty good. You know, the Sylvan and the Aromaseraphy Jasmine. I kind of want to play a heavier plant deck one day because the Sylvan Dance Peon is pretty damn strong. But you can see I'm playing this really cool card here, Necro Synchron. If you don't know what Necro Synchron does, if you synchro this for a wind monster, you can summon a level 1 plant out of your deck. So you have Evil Thorn, Spore, and I think it's Fengli the Sulfur Prom. Yeah, he's a cool little card too. I don't know what he does. When you send it to the grave by a monster effect, it special summons. So obviously when you send it off Vampire or Chaos Ruler, it'll summon back. But mainly you're summoning Spore or Evil Thorn off the Necro Synchron. Because Evil Thorn, you attribute it, you summon 2 more Evil Thorns, and that's an instant Dance Peon or Jasmine. And obviously, Jasmine, tribute a monster it points to, summon a plant out of the deck. So often you'll find hands where you have 0 Therion cards, you sequence these plant monsters, and you get to Lily Borea that gets to Regulus, much how the Sylvan deck would. I guess this kind of plays similar to the Sylvan deck, but the reason why I don't play the Sylvan deck is I find that deck really constrictive. Like, your extra deck is so rigid and your play is so rigid. Don't get me wrong, it is really strong, but I personally, my preference, I don't like playing decks that are overly rigid. I prefer more flexibility. So I try and go for decks like this. That being said, I don't think that even this is the best way to play this because, I mean, Gamma sucked. Gamma's just awful. And then, you really don't want to draw Evil Thorn. Like, if you draw even 1 Evil Thorn, like, your main combos are just dead. Surprisingly, Spore. Spore is, like, again, an old favorite of Tengu plant format, but Spore was so strong. Mainly because I was playing Opelusa. So, you were like, how can we get out Spore and then get rid of it for the Sun Devil and Dryas? Alternatively, you could play Link Rebo. Then you just like banish something, bring back Spore, and you turn it into Opelusa. And then with the Disc Colosseum and Opelusa, like I was really refreshed and surprised about how strong these cards in combination are. Like obviously Opelusa is sick, but if they can't just summon and beat over it because you have the Disc Colosseum, it gets a lot better. So I definitely found that interesting when I was playing this. And then Rose Whip is Rose Whip, Jet is Jet, and Necro Synchron. I mean, the winter targets, I'm only playing Baron de Fleur and the Stellar Wind Wolfriet. You probably should play Shen Shen instead of this one, but I thought maybe Wolfriet could be okay. Because obviously level 10 is easiest with a Necro Synchron because you're playing level 8s from your Foxy Tune and your Deer Notes, summoning back level 8s. And Therions are mainly level 8. There are some level 7, that's why I opted to play the Wolfriet. Spore's level adjustment in this deck is crazy. Like, you can banish Lily for a level 9 Spore. That didn't come up at this locals, but it came up at another locals. I'll get to that in a sec. But yeah, it just means you have all these access to these like wild levels, like, you know, Geomath Max Sigma. This card is generally good to like end the game because Lone Fire is 3, Therion is 8, so you banish Lone Fire, Spore, Therion 12. And yeah, I guess the biggest thing I was let down by this deck was like a lot of the time when you're full comboing with plants, I actually wanted to be summoning like Predaplant, Scorpio, and getting Cobra, getting Instant Fusion, because I felt that like games where you summon these links, like Aromatherapy Jasmine and the Sylvan Dance Peon, you should be like automatically winning. You should be FTKing your opponent. Like your combo potential should just be through the roof. Where in this deck your combo potential is kind of tame. It doesn't really end on the craziest of boards. It doesn't end on anything different that regular Punk Therion is doing. It's just a different way of going about it with some cooler and unique cards. But that being said, I really like Lone Fire and Evil Thorn and all the plants, so I'm happy I played this, and it is really strong. I went 3-1 at the locals, only losing again to just insane god hands, but that's beside the point. But yeah, like, well, what can I say about plants are cool, and I definitely want to keep playing more of these decks, which I did. Going on to the 4th deck. So this deck is like the similar deck, just no Punk, because I actually lent out my Punk for a friend. So I thought to myself, what can I do? And I wanted to extend on this Necro Synchron idea. So you're playing like Adventure, Therion, Plant, Synchro, I guess. But this time we're really focusing on the Necro Synchron. Like really focusing on that. And so this time we got Metal Marcher, Charge Warrior as well, and Shen Shen and Baron de Fleur to trigger it. So Metal Marcher is mainly for the Magician Souls, so when you special souls, you normal Necro Synchron, you Synchro them for Martial Metal Marcher, which Metal Marcher will summon back the Necro Synchron, and then the Necro Synchron triggers summoning Evil Thorn, and then you do the same play, and that setup is crazy. Like, this deck surprised me how good it was. I went 4-1 at that locals. Only lost very narrowly again, but that being said, I had some insane turns with this deck. Like, very, very, very surprised. Like, you start your turn with right, they stop you from getting Griffin. You're like, okay, you normal summon Necro Synchron. You Synchro the Adventure Token and the Necro Synchron into the Charge Warrior. You draw a card. You trigger your Necro Synchron. You get your whole engine accessed. Just off a very simple normal summon of Necro Synchron. So I think this card is definitely underrated. And another key point I didn't mention, that it is a machine, which is obviously great synergy with Regulus. And then at this particular locals, I made an insane play where I had Souls and banished Lily for Spore for a level 9 to make a level 10 Synchro. That was sick. I guess one critique of my deck list would be, again, Gamma really, really sucked. It really underperformed. Should just be playing Ash or Dark Ruler or something. And I played too much Gyro System. I played too much Endless Engine. Like, I can make Chaos Ruler, but it's not the easiest thing for me to make in this deck. Without Punks. I think I should be playing Punks in this deck as well. Just remove the Evil Thorn and just use like Spore and maybe the Sulfur Prom as my level 1 plants. Because I think Spore is just good enough. Like, simply because you can summon it off Alk and then it summons itself back again as more material. That was really, really, really solid. So definitely get rid of Gamma, definitely. Play more Necro Synchron. Play less Gyro System. But like, the milling can kind of ruin a lot of the combos, so you have to be very careful about the sequencing you choose. But I think it worked really well. Like, this deck worked really well to my great surprise. And yeah, enough said about that. And the last deck, the 5th deck, it essentially was this deck, but I was like, fuck it, let's ramp this up to 60. And that was a mistake. That was a big no-no. Shouldn't have done that. Why? I drew much worse or less quality hands than the previous locals. I'm just playing like max ratios of Necro Synchron, Illusion, Souls, added a Destrudo, Legal Knight, a Bull. I just drew much more underwhelming subpar hands. So I guess obviously a deck like this, you need less deck size so that you always hit your good cards. Obvious logic, but sometimes the most obvious logic is the most effective logic. Yeah, I nearly came last place at that locals playing this. Kind of embarrassing, but that's a good way to learn. Like, this is like a second place, nearly win, and then this is like nearly last place. And the only difference is like 10 cards. But the hands were just garbage. The hands were so bad. Just mix and match, never good. Yeah, that's all I can say about that. So bad. Anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in to my locals deck series. Will I be playing 5 again? Probably not. Will I be playing 4? Probably. Yeah, I got a team tournament coming up soon. That'd be really fun. Definitely gonna be playing more Synchro stuff with Therion and Punk and Eldritch as well. I'm gonna unlock some Eldritch Synchro because that seems to be coming up now. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. Bye bye.